thought I told him to spray it with water to retain moisture before applying the film. You can't treat a glazed lily like a cactus. If Sanjay does...
I'll go talk to him.
Hey, Tighnari!
Oh, it's you two. It's been a while. What brings you to Port Ormond?
We didn't have anything to do, and this place looked pretty lively, so we decided to...
Well, Port Ormos is currently organizing. The exhibition includes flowers from every corner of the world, each with their own unique... Even so, an expert is still...
Oh, and then...
Not this time, no. I'm just here to help out.
Mr. Tighnari! Sanjay! He confused the poison...
Never mind. Apologies, Traveler, Paimon. Looks like I've got...
Tighnari's busy no matter where he is, huh? Yeah, seems like it. Hey, don't look at Paimon like that! Paimon is super careful about which... Well, looks like Tighnari might be busy for a while.
Huh?
Paimon's... fine. She's just going...
Rainbow roses. A moment of your time, you two? If it's not too much trouble, perhaps you could try this incense.
Incense? Oh, that was fast! Paimon doesn't...
Think nothing of it. From your attire, I imagine you two aren't seen as we're both travelers from abroad. It's...
Oh, so you're here for the flower...
I suppose that's accurate. Allow me to introduce myself.
Paimon is Paimon! Thank you so...
The Traveler, right? I've heard a lot about...
What happened back there? Why did Paimon start...
Have you ever heard of hay fever? To put it simply, when inhaled...
But Paimon has seen these...
Well, we're all different. The factors that can trigger a reaction to certain stimuli vary by person. In isolation, but there's no need to worry. Pollen allergies can be...
Oh, well that's...
Traveler! Paimon! There you are. I left in such a hurry, I forgot to warn you about all the pollen in the air. Emilie? What a coincidence.
It was nothing, really. We happened to run into each other shortly after my arrival. I'm more curious as to why you thought the Traveler and Paimon were in danger.
Remember the first time we met? You fainted after inhaling...
The spirit board...
It's not really something you can make sense out of, Paimon. There are all kinds of allergies.
Exactly. I even encountered a case in Fontaine where...
Whoa. Good thing Paimon isn't allergic to anything delicious.
In a manner of speaking.
In addition to medicine, Emilie is also very knowledgeable about botany.
And that's where my expertise ends, I'm afraid. When it comes...
A flower expert? Oh, Paimon's got...
Wrong.
Well, I did come for the exhibition, but only to inquire about the Auguste.
Oh, Paimon was sure she got it right this time.
It's a kind of flower that was once popular in Fontaine. The perfume made from it also bears the same name, Auguste.
Auguste, huh? That's not a name you hear often nowadays.
In an ancient language, the word is said to mean sacred or noble. It's sometimes used as an... that reminds me. Are you familiar with perfume mania? It all started when several merchants released their own lines of high-end, expensive perfumes, marketing them as must. No one anticipated the absolute frenzy this would create on the market. The demand was twofold. What some saw as a status symbol, most saw as a money-making. The value of these products became so inflated. Regular bottles of perfume were even going for... But at the end of the day, perfume is just perfume. The market value greatly exceeded the intrinsic worth of the product, creating an... Luckily, the Palais Mermonia recognized the danger and intervened before the craze could truly spread. In the end, only a few wealthy families were affected when the bubble popped.
with that Auguste?
Well, during the craze, the most popular perfume was none other than Auguste. The demand
10 million? Then what?
After the mania ended, most perfumes returned to a normal price. Its namesake, the flower used to create it, went extinct. As a result, no new bottles. Indeed, the Auguste flower was not a natural variety, you see. It was specially cultivated. When the bubble popped, all the flower beds used for its cultivation were destroyed.
But didn't you say you came to the
Ah, yes. I came to investigate a certain rumor that the Auguste
Traveler, we should help Emilie look for it.
I have to agree. Emilie wrote me to ask if I could look into the room.
Even if I can locate the flower, I'm afraid you'll be disappointed, Paimon. Divine, noble, one of a kind. All beautiful sentiments to be sure. But when it comes to perfume, I want people to forget the price and the prestige and focus.
Wow, so
Of course, there's also a more practical reason. In recent years, low-grade every so often someone will claim to have recreated the unique scent of Auguste. And
okay, that's more like the reason.
ever since that rumor started, 3 new perfumes claiming if I can dispel the fanaticism surrounding Auguste, even just by proving then I'll be free from all the stories and added me.
That makes sense.
Oh, I would of course be grateful for your help, but I wouldn't.
Well, you said it yourself. We're both travelers from abroad, so
I suppose you're right.
Based on the information I have so far, it's unclear. Mr. Edgar also thinks it's too early to say. But you could always go,
I was just about to pay him a.
Edgar?
the person you've been trying to guess this whole time. The Flower X, back when he was still working in Fontaine, Auguste, was his
I should also mention, he was my teacher, the one who taught.
So this guy was a famous perfumer in Fontaine, but then he came to Samaro to...
It's a long story. If you're interested, we can talk more about it when we see him. He should.
Oh, look at all the flowers!
Apparently, the exhibitor paid a large sum to rent out the hotel and surrounding buildings. They're being used as temporary.
Yeah, what if guests come early? They won't have anywhere to stay. Also, renting out this big of a hotel, how are they gonna make that more?
It's been so long, I almost didn't
Well, you and your brother have...
Oh, yeah, all this catching up is nice and all, but...
Oh, hold on.
It's nice to see you again, Master.
Emilie? Is that you? I've heard you've become quite the famous perfumer.
Oh, well, it's all.
Hardly. I taught you the basics. I've taught many students here in Sumeru over the years, but I've yet... And who are these two?
They're my new friends, the Traveler and Paimon.
Emilie's friends.
And these two gentlemen? Are they friends of yours, Master?
Of course, I'm Ood, and this here is my younger brother, Blaze. Edgar and the two...
Yes.
Merchant.
You must be here to look for the...
Well,
I'm guessing you're here for the same reason, Emilie. I commissioned a few eremites to do some scouting for me. That being said, some of them were merchants who lived in Fontaine 20, a one-of-a-kind.
Maybe someone...
No, I don't think so. I doubt that's the case. Even if someone had a bottle, that Auguste is even more prone to that kind of shift. Although, could there be a flower out there?
Impossible. If Auguste were that easy to replicate, it would never have sold for such a high price all those years.
Technically speaking,
well, let's table that question for now.
No. By the time they realized they had smelled something, the scent was already gone, compared to things we see and hear.
It almost sounds like...
Wait, are you saying...
Just thinking out loud.
We don't have much to go off of right now, but you all traveled so far to be here.
Ooh, you've got the keys to the rooms?
My apologies. All the rooms in the hotel, I managed to tidy up one of the rooms for these two at the last minute. But by the time...
Oh, and we just showed up out of the blue...
I should have been more considerate. Here I am with an...
Don't worry, Master. I can sleep on the boat tonight. Or I could even camp in the wild. It would give me the opportunity to... Although, would it be possible for me to leave some of my luggage here? It would be rather...
Well...
Of course, no trouble at all.
All right, then. Oud, what? I'll prepare some
Whoa, the smell of flowers is so strong. Paimon took a peek through the window earlier and his house was packed with flowers.
No, that's a florist thing. We work closely with the essential oils of various plants.
Oh, guess there's just too much to store for the exhibition then.
Oh, this room seems to be a connected suite. Blaze, while you're out, why don't you bring our luggage over?
Yes.
All right, then. Where can we find your luggage, mademoiselle?
It's still at the port. In addition to some daily necessities, there's also a case of amber wine that I brought back from... Could I trouble you to bring that back as well? It would be the...
How generous. I should thank you on my brother's behalf.
Is that so? Mr. Oud, Mr. Blaze.
Hey! What are you doing?
That's Master's voice.
Edgar!
Master!
Hey, Edgar! Hey, Edgar? Edgar!
No, don't shake him. He's injured. Just leave him to me. You two can... Oh, thank you.
That strange smell around here. Is it coming from this bottle? Oh, really? Do you think whoever did this was hiding in the flowers before they...
Checked. But that's impossible. It's not like... the culprit, I mean. It's not like the culprit could have...
Well, we looked all over, but the only clue...
The most important thing we can do now is focus our efforts on treating Master.
So, how's he doing?
When I administered emergency treatment, I discovered a residue in his nose and mouth. Master was most likely forced to ingest a certain liquid. He's still unconscious, and inducing vomiting could obstruct his airways. We'll have to look... Ah, yes. The scent is the same, but the chemical composition is still unclear. We'll have to do... But first, I do believe... Mr. Sylvain, Mr. Lucien...
Wait, you know...
Hey! Were you talking to us, mademoiselle?
Before arriving in Sumeru, I asked a friend from the Special Patrol to look into the creators of the goose. There were 4 people in total. The perfumer, Edgar, the one thrust into the limelight, a researcher from Sumeru responsible for cultivating the Auguste flower. The 2 brothers capitalized on the mythos surrounding Auguste. Their actions lured in numerous In the end, they were sent to the Fortress of Meripede for falsifying their accounts and...
And what does that have to do with us? There are countless merchant families in Fontaine.
Every time your brother called you Blaze, it took you several seconds to respond. But when I called you Lucien just now, the name registered immediately.
Miss Emilie, out of respect for your position as a famous perfume, you have a bright future ahead of you. You wouldn't want to develop a reputation as someone who...
You claim to be regular perfume merchants, and yet...
What?
Amber wine is a perfume I created several years ago. It wasn't particularly renowned, but I'm certain unless, until recently, they were living somewhere completely cut off from the perfume world. Somewhere like...
Emily, you little...
Don't misunderstand, Mr. Sylvain. I don't bring this up to criticize you, no matter what happened all those years ago. Look, but Master's life is in danger. We need to learn whatever we... If Master's attack had something to do with Auguste, I would imagine that... So I'd like to trouble you for some information. If...
Fine.
Sylvain!
Lucian, if this will help us find Kyria, then it will be all worth it. Besides, we've already told... You were right, Miss Emilie. There were 4 of us at the beginning. Myself, Lucian, Ed. Sometime down the road, the Marechaussee Phantom came knocking, saddled us with a list of accusations, and
Sounds like he's still upset about that. Wait, then how did Edgar end up in Sumeru?
Master was convicted as an accomplice, so he only had to serve a few years. He decided to move to Sumeru so that... Still, Master was depressed for a long time after that. That's how I met him. My parents had to relocate to Sumeru for work when I was a child, so I had the chance. But we can talk about that some other time. I want to hear more about this researcher, Vijava.
Like us, Vijava was also staring down an investigation from the Marechaussee. But before the Phantom showed up at her door...
But destroying all that...
It didn't matter at that point.
What?
Sounds like you did an investigation of your own. Why even ask us if you knew all of this already?
The name wasn't mentioned in any of the files I reviewed either.
Kyria was Vijava's younger brother. He was just a clueless kid back then. Somewhere in his teens, I think. Vijava kept him close most of the time. After our operation was compromised, he disappeared.
So, you think Kyria took something...
Vijava doted on the kid like you wouldn't believe. If she left something behind before she died...
And judging by the liquid in that bottle, the Auguste flower wasn't the only thing he reproduced. He managed to replicate the perfume.
So the liquid Edgar was forced to ingest really was Auguste. Wait, does that mean Auguste is poison?
Poison? No. Of course not. No perfume is made. If Auguste could be considered a poison, we wouldn't have even sold half a bottle back then. Edgar fell He probably thought we had something to do with his sister's death. But we're not looking for Kyria because we have it out for him. We just wanted to see how he was doing. And if we only went to prison for a bit of fraud and market manipulation. As long as we keep things honest this time around, bringing the product...
So that's why you never mentioned Kyria?
Yes, exactly.
Anyway, that's all we know. If you're looking for info...
Well... At least we're able to say for certain that the substance Edgar ingested was in fact Auguste. That gives us...
Well, glad to hear it. Lucian, let's head back to the room and rest a bit. With everything that's happened, there are things...
Yes.
You think so too? That does seem to be the case. Pity we don't have more evidence. But based on Sylvain's tone of voice just now,
The way you exposed them like that, just based on a hunch? That was genius! Oh, right! Earlier you said you were only
Oh yes, that's because most of the patients...
So you're,
Close. I'm actually a forensic cleaner. Once the forensic team and the Marechaussee Phantom are done collecting evidence from the scene... In fact, with just a small alteration to the formula, the same tincture used as the base of... Basically, there are 2 sides to forensics. Those who collect evidence to expose the truth, and those who clean... I've learned a lot in my line of work, and I've witnessed a lot of death. But this time, we may still save the patient. Actually, Traveler, could I trouble you to report back to Tainari and the officers at Port... I'll stay here and continue to look after Master. Now...
Try and stop me!
Whoa, why the rush? Did something happen?
What? Edgar was attacked. He's the most famous perfumer in the region. Someone who's helped countless...
Sheriff, have you received any reports of a suspicious individual
No, but we've got eyes all over. I'll start gathering my forces. We won't...
What about you, Tainari? Do you have a plan?
I'm sure the sheriff can handle things over at the scene, and I doubt Emilie...
But she said she's...
Then she was far too modest. She may not be a doctor by trade, but she has a deeper understanding of human anatomy and pharmacology, not to mention the fact that Mr. Edgar's condition is related to perfume. Emilie, as for me, I'll head to the academia and...
Oh, that's right!
From Emilie's letter, certainly, but that was the first time I'd heard of it. The academia produces a lot of scholars, and I didn't have time to look into it earlier, but now it seems like Vijava's past could be critical. I have friends in Sumeru City that can help me investigate. With any luck, we'll have news to share by tomorrow. I'll leave you and Emilie to watch over things.
Well, it's been a day. But things weren't looking good with Emilie's master yesterday. We should... Emilie!
No longer in critical condition, thankfully. My chemical analysis of a goose also went smoothly, although it's certainly I was able to identify the components that give the substance its
Elemental energy?
hard to say. It was such a minute amount, proportionally speaking. I had to use one of the newest tests developed in recent years to even unless you were abnormally sensitive to elemental energy, I doubt it would have any effect. As for whether Master's condition was caused by the elemental energy present in the sample or...
Oh, that reminds Paimon. Did Tainari come and find you?
I received a message from him last night, but I haven't heard anything since.
Oh, Paimon thought he might have stopped by. Excuse me? Is Miss Emilie here? Oh, perfect! Familiar faces! Traveler, Paimon, you're here!
Kale. Oh, of course. Tainari's apprentice. He's mentioned you many times. And please, no need for...
Oh, okay. Nice to meet you too, Miss, Emilie. Did Tainari send you here? Yep. Master and the others went through decades worth of records last night and still haven't had a chance to rest. I'm fast on my feet, so Anyway, based on what they've reviewed so far, they believe there's no indication that a researcher by the name Master considered that possibility as well. But the name wasn't the only dead end. Master tried to track... How is that possible?
It's starting to seem very likely. If we want to figure out her true identity,
Hey! Lucian!
It's Sylvain! Wait, you don't think Kirio came back, do you?
That seems impossible. If someone came in or out of the hotel just now... It's locked?
There's no one here.
Lucian! Lucian!
That's Sylvain's voice! Hurry!
Lucian! Lucian! Come on! Wake up! Emilie! Emilie! My brother, he's gonna be okay, right? He's...
I'm sorry, Mr. Sylvain.
No, that's not...
Traveler, Kale, Mr. Sylvain has gone through a huge shock. He needs some space to calm down. Could one of you take him next door?
Of course. Leave it to me.
Thank you both. Mr. Sylvain, let's get you up. We'll take things from here. Just focus on getting some rest. Here, this way.
Poor guy. He's like a shell of his... He may have made some bad decisions in life.
Good person or bad, the death of a loved one is equally painful. All the moments he shared with his brother, every hardship and triumph they endured.
If Kyria really was behind this, then...
Lucien can no longer speak. But the trace... Traveler, I've got things covered here at the scene.
Who would have thought? Yesterday's case is still up in the air. Miss Emilie, I heard you're an experienced forensic doctor. Have you been able to...
Oh, I'm not actually a forensic doctor. I just happen to have some relevant knowledge. I did take a look, though. Judging by the temperature and rigidity of the body, it appears the time of death...
Then, would you mind helping...
Of course, I appreciate your trust. Many of the traces...
We'll help too. We don't know... And the windows are shut tight too. Seems like the only way to get... Well, looks like we've investigated as much as...
So, did you find anything?
Paimon can show you. Here, it'd be something like this.
But entering through the room next door without alerting Sylvain...
No, his reaction to the loss of his brother seemed...
Then, what could have happened last night? I know Sylvain is still in shock, but...
I agree. Also, I've made some new discoveries, so we might...
Mr. Sylvain, I need you to tell me everything you and your brother did since yesterday afternoon.
After Kyria attacked Edgar, my brother and I, we returned to our rooms and decided to lock all the doors leading to the... The only door we kept unlocked was the one connecting our rooms. But I didn't hear any sort of commotion last night. Not a single noise. I woke up this morning, opened the door, and...
So, no movement from the room next door, no signs of a struggle at the scene, and no external injury.
I did notice a few things about the body. Lucien's pupils were dilated, and his skin... There weren't any traces of liquid in his mouth or nose, so it's unlikely he was forced to ingest anything. The more plausible explanation...
A goose? No, that's not possible. Inhaling a goose won't kill you. No. Emilie, you ran your tests, didn't you?
No. I didn't find any common toxin.
See? A goose is...
That may be true for most people, but not for everyone.
Master!
Edgar? You're...
Thanks to Sylvain. No matter how hard you may try to hide it, the truth will...
Edgar!
Even if we could keep it a secret for another 10 or 20 years, no. He would never give up. Not if he's doing all of this for Yelena. That's Vijava's. Yelena wasn't a scholar from Sumeru.
The Fatui. Well, that means the element.
Ah, so you've already detected it.
Oh,
The August flower was created with the mutative and distorting.
The Fatui, delusions. I never would have.
Born of a delusion, August contained distorted elemental and.
that's enough, Egg. At first, Yelena wanted to keep refining the perfume and the flower. But no, it didn't have any effect on ordinary people anyway. Every day...
So you decided poisoning people was worth the risk?
Listen, it's not like it was good for business. But all that talk about a goose being harmful over time... Yelena was just speculating. Unless you were particularly sensitive to elemental energy or had an entire bottle shoved down your throat like Edgar. You could use the product for...
It may be true there are no records of Auguste, but even if no one was acutely poisoned, willfully bringing a product to market despite explicit knowledge... That explains why you were so intent on keeping Yelena and Kiria's involvement a secret all this time. The Fatui, delusions, Auguste... If the Marechaussee Phantom discovered the connection between the three...
Ha! If I'd known coming to Sumeru would put a target on my back, I would have been more than happy to stay there. All these years without any sign of Kiria, and he pops up out of nowhere the minute my brother and I get out of prison? It couldn't be any clearer who Auguste was harmless before. The fact that it's killed...
So there's bad blood between...
What about Yelena's death? Was that a cover-up too?
I'll admit, we thought about it at one point. We took care to disguise the products circulating on the market. But if the Marechaussee Phantom decided to look into the flower beds, it would have been the end. Before we could even put our plan in motion, Yelena beat us to it. She burned all her flower beds.
But if her goal was to destroy evidence, there would have been no... Yeah, she could have just burned the flower beds and fled with her brother.
I thought about it for a long time. But it wasn't until just everything she did. It was for... One of the reasons they defected from the Fatui was the deterioration of Yelena's body, due to her excessive use of it. After arriving in Fontaine, Yelena continued using the delusion to cultivate the Auguste flower.
So she couldn't flee with her brother because she was afraid of holding him back.
If her true identity was exposed... the Auguste flower, and Yelena's own corroded body both bore the mark of a delusion. So, in the end, she burnt it all to ash, including her...
So the wealth you earned from Auguste, it wasn't destroyed in the fire?
Most likely. Before Yelena died, she said if anything happened to her, she was going to leave. That's why Lucien and I were searching for Kiria, to take back Armora and the Auguste flower.
But why is Kiria out for revenge anyway?
I don't think he knew his sister was nearing death. Yelena always wore heavy makeup around him to conceal her deteriorating appearance.
Then all we'll need to do is tell Kiria what really happened. I'm not so sure. Even if he knew the truth, he'd still find someone to blame. He might think Yelena was forced into use. It's hard to pull yourself out of that kind of hatred. Especially when you...
Very true. Even if Yelena's death was her own choice, I wouldn't call myself innocent either.
Edgar, what are you talking about?
Think about it, Sylvain. If we hadn't been in such a hurry to capitalize on the perfume mania all those years ago, do you think if we hadn't been so blinded by greed, so insistent on increasing if we hadn't invited the Marechaussee Phantom to our doorstep by breaking...
She knew her limits. She knew her days. We were just trying to earn a bit of more. And what, we deserved to die? Lucien's crime... Was it... Fine. I've said...
3 people from Fontaine, 1 from Snezhnaya. Well, we can only wait until the Academia sends someone to deal with it. I'm guessing we'll have to contact Fontaine as well. In any... with the exhibition, we don't even have space in Port Ormos to detect...
The hotel could suffice. You could station a few officers to keep... Although with Sylvain's mental state and my...
Mr. Edgar, are you saying...
If Sylvain is to stand trial, then I deserve... I'd just like to take care of a few things before I go. As for Sylvain, I'm sure... Would you be willing to grant that request?
Well, all right. I'll talk to the Academia. The man we grew to know in Sumeru proved himself to be a...
You have my thanks, Sheriff.
Happened tonight? Oh, you...
Yeah! All we know is that he uses a goose to poison people. But we still have no idea how to catch him and if he targets Sylvain or Edgar again.
That may be true. But what if we can take advantage of his desperation? If we take advantage of this situation...
Master, no!
If Kyria learns we're being taken away tomorrow, his last chance to enact... In other words, you want to use...
Capture? Not necessarily.
Afraid? I'm spending the rest of my life in prison anyway. I can't just sit back and let him ride off into the sunset with our fortune. There's no... As for the danger, everyone else just needs to make preparations in advance to protect us.
I'll admit, it could work. We just need to spread the word that Edgar and Sylvain are leaving. Then I'll station some of my men around the hotel. If we have your assistance as well, our chance of success would be even higher.
I still have some reservations. But if you insist on carrying out this plan, I won't deny you my help.
I'll also keep watch.
Although I think Sylvain and myself, if Kyria noticed another person in the room, he might decide to turn back.
You mean if he doesn't see a way to get his hands on the 2 of you, he might get so desperate that he'll just...
If that were to happen, everyone's standing guard. Even the innocent citizen...
That's why everyone else needs to keep to the shadows.
You're still recovering. You need to rest.
This old pack of bones doesn't bounce back like it...
All right, we can figure out a plan to keep watch later. Right now, I say we split up.
Have you heard? Mr. Edgar's been detained. He's being taken away tomorrow.
What? He's the one who helped craft all the fragrances for our...
He taught my child how to make perfume. How
He hasn't been convicted yet. Let's just wait and...
Oh, everyone on the street is talking about the rumors. No matter where... Let's head back to the hotel and take a break. We can...
Rev the engines!
Emilie! Sheriff Xian wants to talk to you and the Traveler about our plans for the night.
Thank you, Kale. But first, here. I prepared a kind of herbal tea that helps calm the spirit. Why don't you have...
Oh, that's very...
Oh, it's not good to be so tense, especially when we've got a long night ahead of us. I don't mean to... You seem very preoccupied with Kyria's revenge. If there's anything you want to...
Oh, Hey, Emilie, Kale. Oh, are we interrupting? No, not at all. This will be easier to talk through with you here anyway. I've just been thinking. If Kyria has the capacity to commit murder while remaining there was just a single door separating them. If his intention was to target both brothers, that when I accompanied Sylvain to his room after Lucien died and saw how distraught maybe Kyria did that on purpose. Maybe he wanted Sylvain to experience the pain of losing a loved.
So did he attack Edgar as a warning then? To scare
Based on what we've heard about Kyria, that may very well be the case.
Losing his sister all those years ago. Whenever I get to thinking like that, I just can't help but wonder. I'm sorry. I know I shouldn't think like that.
There's nothing wrong with the way you're feeling. Empathy is a part of human nature. In all my years of cleaning up crime scenes, I've witnessed countless families mourn their loved ones. Some of them even try to stop me, begging me not to erase the last remnants of their loved ones. But surround yourself with fragrance for too long and your sense of smell will become dull. So while you hold on to that sense of empathy, do Sylvain and Lucien really deserve to die? How much did they truly know? Answering those questions requires a lot of time and evidence. I've witnessed a lot of deaths in Fontaine. When someone dies, but generally speaking, death will just...
Once you're consumed by hatred, it will become next to impossible to think about things that way.
You're right. The fact that we can approach these questions from this perspective isn't because we're more, but that also makes us perfectly positioned to stand on the... I understand Kyria's decision, but I still want to stop him. Master Sylvain...
The fortunate...
Emilie, Traveler. Huh? Edgar.
Oh, it's you two! Didn't you head back to your room to rest, Edgar? Is it really okay for you to be...
Besides, I don't have much time left in Sumeru.
We could do that for you, Master.
No need. I've grown attached to these flowers. I would imagine Sheriff Shah...
the Night Watch! You mentioned...
That's right. I've stationed some of my men around the surrounding area, but we still don't have anyone standing guard. Exactly. After some discussion, we concluded that Sylvain has the highest risk of being attacked, and Emilie's expertise is sure to come in handy in a pinch. That's why I...
Sounds perfectly reasonable.
Not a peep. Has Kyria given up on his revenge? Guess what? Still nothing unusual. Paimon took a peek into the room next door and Sylvain's already sleeping.
Perhaps Kyria's true motive was simply forcing... No, that can't be right. If all he wanted was for Sylvain to be convicted for his... There must be something we're missing.
Maybe we just need to calm down a little. How about some tea? You're right. Maybe we can look for a different distraction then, like, Oh, there's a glaze lily here. Paimon didn't notice it earlier.
Flowers, clay... Oh no! Sylvain's room! Quick!
Wait, what?
Hey, did you hear? Someone was attacked again.
It was the older of the merchant brother.
Yeah, I think his name was Sylvain.
First it was Mr. Edgar, then that merchant named Lucien, and...
Listen up, everyone. This is an act of crime.
It's been 3 days and they haven't even caught a glimpse of the guy.
Do you think it could be the work of an... I mean, how do you get away with something like that with...
Keep it moving, everyone. No loiter.
I suppose.
You don't know that. Kyria already attacked you once, and you survived.
You were the only reason I managed to survive.
Even if I wasn't there, Tainari was also in the vicinity. He would—
Is that so? I have exceptional students, caring friends, but Kyria has nothing. It really makes you wonder.
If you really want an answer, I suppose you'll have to ask Kyria himself.
Well, Emilie, there's something else I'd like to ask of you. But so many flowers were transported here for the show. Some of them, whether Kyria gets to me first or I'm sent. I know it's a lot to ask.
Of course, Master.
Really? Now
Sheriff Sham still has some questions for me.
Go ahead. Best not to keep him waiting. He can be quite.
I'm sorry, Master.
Another all-nighter.
Emily still isn't back. I hope she didn't run into any trouble. Yeah, that's true.
Traveler, I had my men start spreading the information you requested. The crowd is gone now, too. After listening to Emily's plan, I started getting the materials together and arranging personnel. To be honest, I'm still not sure how the crime—
The key clue was right in front of us the entire time. Let's go. We'll show you where the culprit hid it. Wasn't this incense originally in Lucien's room? It must... This is it!
Glaze lily, huh? I think I've heard of it before.
Well, did you know it only blooms at night?
Emily, you're back!
Exactly as expected.
A flower that only blooms at night.
Exactly. Although the Neelopala lotus wouldn't be a good substitute that's why Kyria chose the glaze lily as his mechanism.
If poured into the flower pot, the liquid would seep into the soil. There's a sticky substance. If you stick the petals together with
That's right! He applied a diluted form of slime condensate to the petals to stick them together. That way, the agouste would remain trapped inside during the daytime, unable to seep between the petals and evaporate into the air. This also allowed the culprit. However, the diluted slime condensate wouldn't be viscous enough to prevent the petals of the glaze lily from opening at night. So by nightfall—
And Kyria could execute his revenge without having to step foot inside the room.
By the next morning, the sample of agouste would have nearly fully evaporated. The glaze lily would have already closed its petals, and any lingering odor would be concealed by—
Wait a second. You're telling me this version of agouste is so toxic? And how did Edgar even survive ingesting a whole bottle?
That's because agouste is just as dangerous now as it was all those years ago. The level of toxicity has never changed. Only a small subset of people—
You mean people who are sensitive to elemental That can't be right. They were involved in the operation all those years ago.
I wouldn't use the word allergic necessarily. It's more like they're susceptible to its effect. You can think of it this way.
All kinds of essential oils commonly found in alchemical products can temporarily... The incense I smelled earlier seemed familiar. Thinking back on it, in Sumeru, scholars use...
alchemically produced essential oils, the primordial seawater that caused unrest in Fontaine not too long.
That stuff gave us a lot of trouble when we first came to—
Ah, yes.
In Sumeru, it's not uncommon to use incense indoors, so its presence wouldn't arouse
Flowers were pretty important to this plan, huh? The glazed lily is native to Liwa. It would be completely unnatural to have one here in Sumeru if it weren't—
Actually, it's not a coincidence at all.
No wonder he was willing to pay a small fortune to—
He probably used the Mora Yelena left him, don't you think? But in the end...
There's a saying among forensic doctors in Fontaine. But up until this point, we haven't been able to detect any trace of Kiria's activities. That's but because he's been disguised as someone else this entire time.
Creating such an intricate mechanism out of a glaze lily, setting it all points to one. Kiria and Edgar?
But Kiria was only in his teens back then. He wouldn't even be 40. Edgar's lived here for so many years. Even if he changes a—
Bad news, Sheriff! Mr. Edgar was attacked!
What?
A dark shadow-like figure just ran out of his room. It was giving off but before we could even react, the figure up and disappeared like some sort of ghost or something. By the time we got— Do you think Kiria—
I need you to think very carefully about this. Are you certain that figure—
I mean, Mr. Edgar was so frail.
It would seem Master decided to tap into an
What? But that's so dangerous with—
But why? Why would he do that?
No. If his aim was to target everyone who had a hand in Yelena's death—
If he left Sylvain alive yesterday, not out of a desire to see him suffer, but to confirm the—
Then there's still one target left.
The shadow-like figure ran in the direction of the elevator, and my partner immediately chased after them.
We should hurry before they're forced to confront each other.
Where in the world did he go? Let's ask the merchants nearby.
Ghost!
It's all right. Please, calm down and take a deep breath. Can you tell—
I saw a black— How could some—
No! Don't come any closer! Try and stop me!
If we go any further, we'll be—
It's all right. I can detect a faint whiff of the scent from here. I would— It's this way. Please, follow me.
Full throttle!
The scent is getting stronger. This—
Oh! O's! Are you all right? Were you attacked?
No, I'm all right.
Let me take a look.
The air definitely feels heavy. It smells nice, but for some reason,
This feeling...
Everything looks all right. It was probably just the stress of the chase, combined with—
I can't rest. Mr. Edgar is still in there. He's a good man.
O's, you need to calm down and listen to me. Edgar is the one we're after.
But how is that Mr. Edgar is 70-something.
That's precisely why he had to resort to extraordinary measures to age himself. Kiria used a delusion to bring back the Auguste—
No. He couldn't have.
And what if the impersonation started—
I...
I've yet to confirm it, But I suspect Kyria killed the real Edgar in Fontaine not long while Edgar was incarcerated. Kyria started making preparations to replace him, including forcefully aging his body. The new Edgar then decided to relocate to Sumeru, seemingly out of an innocuous desire to let go of the past. He even left perfume making in favor of mentoring students, and Sumeru fit the bill to a T, with no one around to question his identity. As the years went by, he removed his disguise little by little and continued.
That explains why Sylvain said he aged himself decades beyond his years just so he could accomplish his.
I need to find Mr. Edgar. He's not that kind of.
What you really need is to get out.
No,
Wait! This environment is likely being influenced by the delusion. Any discomfort, I know how to relieve your symptoms, Mr. Ooze. I'm sure Kyria... No, Edgar wouldn't want any more innocent people implicated.
Kale's right. The Traveler and I will take things from here. From our brief exposure to a goose, it would seem the substance has little effect on it. This leads me to believe those blessed with a vision or capable of wielding elemental power are more resistant to the effects of abnormal elemental energy. In other words, this environment does... Actually, now that I think about it, this stronghold, I hate to trouble you.
Thank. Hear that? We're heading out. There's work to be done.
Traveler, Emilie, for someone who's...
Don't worry. This isn't the end. We're not going to let a goose kill any... Monsters. Perhaps they were attracted here by the increased level of elemental energy. I've never seen these seeds before. They must also have been created with the power of a delusion. It seems to be avoiding us, and there's no other way forward. Perhaps we could try luring it to the edge of the cliff.
Whoa, look at all the Auguste flowers! There are so many of them. I can't believe a single person...
I fear that statement is truer than you know, Paimon. Using a delusion comes at a...
But why would He only needed a few bottles of...
Perhaps hatred wasn't the only emotion. Not long ago, he told me he didn't want all the flowers transported to Sumeru, but Kyria betrayed Snezhnaya, abandoned Fontaine, and lived his entire life for someone with nowhere to call home. Perhaps dying among a bed of Auguste flowers just like his...
Solidified!
Our bond is strong! Rise with the sun! Pyroclastic surge!
Stabilize! Order guide you!
The scent of flowers is getting stronger. We're almost at the end. The scent of flowers is getting stronger.
Did they catch up that No. My strength is just waning. But it doesn't matter. This is far enough.
This is a garden of Auguste flowers. But it's not mine. It's the one that was set on fire all those years ago in Yelena? Yelena! You tried to hide it from me, but I always understood. The reason why you continued to use the delusion, the reason why you set your garden on fire. I shouldn't have listened to you that day. I shouldn't have taken the Mora and ran. But by the time I realized something wasn't right, there was nothing left. I know I'm almost 20 years too late. I should have come looking for you. I should have died with you that day. Yelena? Yelena! No! Don't leave me! Please! Yelena!
Emilie? I'm alive. No, that's not possible.
That was an illusion, likely brought about by the residual toxin in your body coupled...
No! The amount of Auguste I drank. A fake.
We started making the preparations last night with one goal in mind, to create a perfect accord. The accord is the basis of perfume making,
the product in its most primitive form. Ambergris mixed with cedar wood, rounded out with a base note of agar wood.
This is the scent of leather?
Exactly. We're unable to extract essential oils from leather, but by combining other raw materials, we can recreate its essence. That is the purpose of an accord.
Does that mean you can recreate any scent in the whole world?
I'm afraid not. Certain fragrances in this world are simply one of a kind. That quality is what draws people in and fuels their obsessions.
If I wear a goose to the ball, I'll also be one of a kind.
Our competitor already got their hands on it.
It doesn't matter how much it costs. I have to buy something better.
This fragrance will be one of a kind, no more. Myths can be deconstructed, miracles can be recreated. All it takes is skill, experience, limitless exploration, and a little patience. The only thing left is determining where the real Auguste is hidden. Pretending to be attacked means he's not free to move around. Auguste must be hidden within reach.
Paimon took a peek through the window earlier and his house was packed with flowers.
The curator commissioned a flower pot from Kasharawar, capable of retaining heat and moisture.
Perfumes are as beautiful as flowers, and equally as delicate. When stored, you must take care to control the temperature and keep them away from direct sunlight. Did you get all that, Emilie?
I got it.
Did you hear? Someone was attacked
again last night.
So, Sylvain is dead. Is that right?
Yes, Master.
So, you switched the bottles of Auguste, and then lied to me about Sylvain's death.
Convincing you that your revenge had been completed was the easiest way to get you to let down your guard.
Impossible. Even if you found a way to switch out the bottles, there's no way you could have made an accord. If Auguste was so easy to replicate, Yelena wouldn't...
It was a combination of rainbow roses, glaze lilies, and Cecilias, but recently, we found a...
Rainbow roses?
Auguste was created over 10 years ago. All this time, people never stopped. Perfumery techniques are advancing day by day. We've found better ways to extract essential oils. The mythos surrounding Auguste may have been untouchable almost 20 years ago, but now...
The past.
You've been working as a perfumer for all these years. You should have always known that it is possible to make an accord, but the meaning you assigned to Auguste became so inflated, you allowed yourself to get lost in it. Just like the perfume mania that captivated the public all those years ago. You believed in its divinity and grandeur. You believed it was entirely one of a kind. Your obsession with Auguste is also what allowed us to predict how you intended your plan to end, and to make preparations in advance.
We just didn't expect it to happen so fast.
Well, you hit the nail on the head now, didn't you? So, Sylvain isn't dead. Since you've been preparing your accord since last night, I assume you've also figured out my... That means the news of Sylvain's death. The crowd gathered outside the hotel.
Yes. If we hadn't, you might have resorted to the delusion out of desperation, or continued to use your Spirit Borneal and Auguste combination to wreak havoc.
Who knows? Maybe I would have just offed myself then and...
I know if you had things your way, you would carry the truth of Edgar's demise and the secrets of this garden to the grave, but Sylvain only inhaled a small... All the crimes he concealed back then will be exposed in a court of law for everyone to...
Is that so? Well, I suppose...
Whoa, he accepted that kind of fast.
I don't feel the need to justify. I did what I set out to do. I may have lost in the end.
Careful, everyone. This environment is dangerous.
Stick close and hurry up. We can't...
Looks like I'm almost out.
Of course, Master.
The combination you used...
The scent of Auguste is complex and varied, yet the main ingredient consists of a single variety of flower. So, as I was analyzing the sample yesterday, I got to thinking, what if the scent of the Auguste flower was already imbued...
You're saying Yelena designed Auguste?
Rainbow roses, glaze lilies, Cecilias... The perfumers of the past knew that if you combine their essential oils directly, but if you cultivate a new flower species that intrinsically carries the unique features of those three scents, you can bypass that...
Rainbow roses, glaze lilies, Yelena.
Did you know? Miss Emilie's releasing a new Right, I heard...
Seems like everyone in Fontaine is talking about the new perfume you're releasing.
I was hoping to release it without such a fuss, but I just hope it won't become the source of some new myth. Especially after all the work we did to demystify. I did, although I made a few modifications to the formula to make the scent more pleasant and long-lasting. Also, I was hoping you could try out the fragrance before I officially release it and tell me your thoughts.
Of course! A good sense of taste and sense of smell go. Oh, it smells great!
It's alright. Besides, when it comes to perfume, commenting on whether it smells good is the most straightforward assessment you can ask for.
Right! Do those flowers have some special meaning? Hearing their names seemed to...
If I had to guess...
The language of flowers? Oh, we've heard of that before!
What each flower is said to represent varies by person and across different moments in history. The same is true for the flower. After returning to Fontaine, I did some research, and it turns out the meanings of the forget the past and keep on living. Perhaps that's the legacy Yelena always intended, not the nobility and grandeur most people.
You think Kyria knew about?
I paid him a visit before his trial and explained what I found. Who knows? Maybe she didn't mean anything by it at all. Yelena is gone. We'll never know what she was thinking. We can look for meaning all we want, even if that is what she was trying to say. I would never be able to... Avenging her death? That would... Kyria cultivated his revenge like a flower. He was committed to making it bloom, even if, in the end, it didn't bear the fruit in any case. He did want me to pass along thank you for saving my life, for giving me the chance to learn that love and hatred are... When someone dies, their thoughts, feelings, and intentions die with them. In that sense, would a goose true? But even if it's only a conjecture, the meaning we give to flowers, the symbolism we assign to our perfumes, they're constant, and yet at the very outset, they're born from the simplest and most